Hey, what's up? Travel Chronicles chapter 83, I think. Maybe 84, I'm not sure. Anyway, I wasn't going to do this today, but there were some interesting things happened last night, at least from my perspective. A couple of things this week. One is we weren't going to have another basketball game because of COVID this week, because the other team had to cancel. But I think another team had an opening in their schedule, so we're going to go ahead and play them. And then I guess that game later we'll just, we'll keep that spot open, right? I mean, you try to move things around. It's like one of them slide puzzles right now. It's like, hey, we got an open spot. Okay, let's slide this one in here. And then we got another open spot later, because maybe you may have to play another game at that point. It'll be interesting if we get 15 games in. But here's the other interesting thing, right? My son got asked to swim. Now, he's played basketball. Like I talked about basketball early on in these videos, and when I thought he played his last game, and I appreciated it for that being his last game, because I knew how he felt. And he maintained that through summer, into the school year, and now into basketball season, where it's just kept it away. So I tell people I was convinced he's not going to play. He's done. I'm not going to make him do it, make him go and play. But this coach asking him to swim has kind of piqued his interest, because now, and I told him, I was like, you got to negotiate this. Like, you're not a swimmer. You haven't swum, in 6 years. Swam 6 years. Anyway, he can't be expecting to come out and just be an all-star swimmer or something like that, and your expectations aren't to swim to get a scholarship or anything. If anything, this is just, some conditioning maybe for track season, and, a chance to, exercise without being in the freezing cold. But swimming is brutal. It's a brutal sport, because they practice every night, and they don't have a pool. It's not like, all right, got a class, sweet, I'm going to the pool. I'm going to kick out, I'm going to get my 2 hours of swimming in, and then I'm going to head home and be home by 5 o'clock. No. They got to go to another pool. And they have to wait to practice until after another team's done practicing, because they're using their pool. And then it's a bus ride back to the school, and then drive home. So it's involved. Right? It's not an easy sport to just decide you want to play. And I told him, I was like, look, the expectations here are probably for you to just, give somebody a break on a relay team, so that they can, go do their specialty, go do what they're good at for their individual race, and maybe you race one individual race, but I mean, there's a couple kids on that team that, butterfly, breaststroke, backstroke, that are pretty good. So like, you're not gonna beat them kids anyway. At best you're the number 2. But if you can go in with that expectation of, hey, I'm not the all-star, I'm not the savior on the team, I'm just a gap filler. I don't want to practice 5 nights a week. Let's make a deal. I'll do, I'll go to 2 practices a week. I'll show up at the meets, and go from there. That way you're competing, you're helping the team out, and you're not overtaxing yourself. You're not overcommitting yourself, right? It's kind of a casual interaction, rather than all this competitive stuff. It would be like an amazing change of pace. Now the coach says, no, I can't do that. You got to be at every practice, or we're not doing it. All right, cool. I wasn't a swimmer before. I don't need to swim. walk away. Once you get into it, hey, man, maybe you want to go to 3 practices a week. Maybe you want to go to 4 practices. Maybe you start enjoying it. I don't know. While we were talking about that, though, then we started talking about basketball. And I was convinced that he wasn't going to play. And then he starts talking, and he's like, well, if Coach would come back and he would ask me to come play for him, it's like I would play. And his mom goes, yeah, I figured. And I was like, really? Like, I didn't figure that at all. Wow, I missed that one. There's some things where it's just like, wow, I did not read that. Like, deep down, I was hopeful. I wanted him to play. His senior year. And this is what you worked for 11 years. Is to have that 1 year where you're the oldest player on the court. You're the most physically mature that you've ever been. You've got the most skill that you've had, the most knowledge of the game that you've had, and that's when you should go out there and have your best success. Provided the coach doesn't get away. But I mean, I was convinced that there's no way he's going to play. And then he said that last night, and I was like, what? He's like, yeah, all the worst stuff's over now. Where it's just a month solid of practicing. He's like, that's over. Now we're into games. I was like, yeah, that's true. I mean, that's a completely different situation than what I was in when I was a senior, when I was told I wasn't good enough to play, basically. I'd been there. Like my sophomore year, I got into the season a couple of games. I think it was a couple of games or a couple of practice. Like, and the writing was on the wall. It's like, dude, you ain't gonna play. And it was reserve. Like, I wasn't going to play reserve basketball. This is a small A school. Kind of heavy. Wasn't athletic. Didn't do anything like outside of the sport. Well, I did do some leg lift and stuff, calf raises, stuff that you're just trying to do because you think it's going to help you, even if it's not actually helpful. And just writing was on the wall, and sports were absolutely 100% not important in the least to my parents. They could care less. Like, I don't think I'm going to play basketball. Okay. Like, that's a hard decision to come to. And I was young too, right? Like when I graduated, when I started my senior year of high school, I was 16. Okay, so sophomore year I'm 14, turning 15. I'm young, right? I mean that's a freshman, like trying to, like, it's understandable you don't have the skill set to be on a reserve team and compete with other sophomores and juniors. And we had some good kids in my class. So I just wasn't good enough to be on that team. And it wasn't worth it for me to sit on the bench for the whole season either. I came back my junior year. I played some my junior year, but I broke my wrist during the season. So I was out for like 6 weeks. Once again, parents could not care less. But I had like one game where I did pretty decent, holding a guy points, but then at the end of the season when they were naming the varsity roster for the tournament, for the sectional, they picked a freshman over me, and right, I mean, he was a golfer, right? Like not your typical athlete, but he was athletic. Kind of like Elijah. He's a cross country runner, but he's an athlete. Yeah, he could have played football. He could have done well in football, but why just do well at one sport when you be an all-star in another sport? He's athletic enough, he can compete, whatever. Like the swim coach is asking him to swim. He hasn't swam for 6 years. What's that tell you? So he's an athlete. Now I felt like an athlete. I ran around a lot, did a lot of stuff in school. And I think after I got my driver's license to where I could go, to the parks, go to the school and play, and go to my friends' houses and stuff, and we would play basketball or swim and do stuff. I got a lot more fit when I was a senior. Like that was probably like the most in shape that I've ever been physically as a 17-year-old, and it was just so disappointing being pulled into the office, me and another guy, and just being told by that coach, like, look, you're not gonna play. And don't get me wrong, right? That coach hated me. It was his first year as a head coach, and I don't know what it was. Like I don't remember doing anything to him. Like I had him once in junior high, and he gave me a D+ or something in industrial arts, right? Like all we're doing is just drawing stuff, technically with the measurements and stuff on it. And and I do the P&ID updates now where I work. So, but he gave me a D+. He just had it. Like there were a couple of teachers just had it in for me, and I don't know why, but they ended up being in a basketball program, which is unfortunate for me. One teacher left, right? He went to coach another school. He still worked at the school, still taught at the school, but he coached at a different school for the 4 years I was in high school. So maybe he just tried to avoid me altogether. And then the one coach, I don't know if he got fired or quit after 3 years, but then we had a new varsity coach my senior year, and it happened to be the guy who, if I had to pick one teacher in the school that hated me the most, it was that guy, right? And then the feeling became mutual after that. Like, I don't know if it was mutual or not before. I think it may have been, but like I had no use for him at all. Like, he was, and when I say he was a horrible coach, they went 0-21. It was bad, right? So just talking about situations, completely different situation where a coach would come ask him to play because he's short on players, and he is. That team's short on players. He's like, well, you're gonna have to come off the bench now because you're fine. They have 3 starters kind of locked up, and I think they know who they want to start for the 4th guy, and then it's like we need another guy. We need 5. So, what Elijah was talking about was, it doesn't really fit the way that they play to make it the 5th guy the starter. He would fit a lot better. But just interesting, and I was not expecting that at all. So, now I don't know. Do I hope he plays? Do I hope he doesn't play? If he wants to do something, or does he want to swim now? He was flattered. And it should be. A sport that you haven't ever competed in high school. Ask you to come join up. That's rare. Last year, kind of jokingly, he said he was going to bowl for a senior. Well, I ain't going to watch it. Can't watch anyway. Can't watch a swim meet anyway. I can't watch him swim because they're not allowing spectators. So, it absolutely would not affect me at all. It would just be for him. Maybe the end of the season, go watch him. I don't know. But it was interesting. So I wasn't planning on doing this one, but now I figured since that stuff happened, just get that down. The COVID stuff, I've kind of quit keeping track of it anyway, because the numbers are just so ridiculous. And if people can't look at those numbers and go, well, this doesn't make any sense, then I don't know what to tell you. We go from having 40, 50,000 cases a day to over 200,000, and now 3,000 people a day are dying from COVID-19. After 8 months, after 10 months, now it's bad. The thing that is the most damning, though, is the NFL is constantly testing everybody, right? And they shut down the Baltimore Ravens, for like 4 or 5 days because of the number of positive tests that they had. And they said they're going through the protocols and whatnot, but they shut them completely down. Well, then they revealed, I think it was late last week, that the testing they had done revealed there was actually 4 different strains of COVID in the locker, coronavirus. 3 that were, not overly harmful, not transmissive, I guess. I don't know. And 1 that was extremely contagious. Well, the cold's a coronavirus. This is what I've been saying all along. It's like, how do we know we're catching just COVID-19 and not some, potpourri of different coronaviruses and calling them all COVID-19? The numbers just absolutely don't make sense. You can't go from having hardly anything to now all of a sudden, essentially going up, 4 or 5 times in a very short span. Something's changed. Something is not right. So, and people aren't. If anything, people are going places less. Now, are they indoors more? Yeah. Is it cold? Yeah. Could it be the common cold? What? This is the time of year where, people who have weakened immune system, people who are, doing chemotherapy or on, some type of drug therapy or have been fighting off another disease of some sort, and their immunity system's way down. This is where those people die to the flu and the common cold. This is where those deaths come from. It's from people who are fighting other stuff, and then this comes in and is the final blow. It just should not be. We're just so surprised and shocked, and like, how many years have we just, gone on and lived and just, done whatever, and this year we're taking more and more precautions and being more safe, and there's 200,000 cases a day. Doesn't make any sense. All right, that's all I got. Be careful. Stay COVID free. Later.